Oh, welcome everyone. Great to see you. Hey, Richard. I'm good. What about you?
I'm okay.
The music is okay, right? Not too loud. A bit supporting. Cool. Awesome.
It
Hey,
sounds a
Jamie.
little bit broken up.
I guess that's the
That's the
intention
style.
from the music itself.
That's the style.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, fine.
It's a neural wave connecting sound, so it really tries to support our mode of thinking. Hey, Jamie. Great to see you too. Hey, Jason. Hey, Una. Let's give it some more seconds that people can join. And if you want, you can warm up your fingers, use the chat, share where you are from, add your LinkedIn profiles. If you would like to connect with each other, feel free to also pitch whatever your services are. This will be an interesting session about Langdock and using AI in your daily work. Let's start. And as you already do, if you can switch your camera on, let's make this an interactive session. And if you have any question in between, type it in the chat or use this Zoom hand raising feature. It's in the React button that I can see someone has a question and I would like to have it in between. And also you can bring in more questions at the end, but let's interrupt the session if there's something pressing that you would like to dive deep. And I take the responsibility to shortcut when needed and move forward in the session. It's about Langdock as an AI platform that I use since some years actually now. And I would like to provide you an overview in the beginning, short overview on how Langdock actually looks like, feels like. Then I also provide my system as a high-level overview, how I use this. We zoom in a little on the different areas, what I integrate as sources into Langdock. And then I provide you two examples of my daily work with Langdock that hopefully provides you an impression that you say, interesting. And then I provide also an outline if you would like to learn in an intense way to use this. I also have a program up and running. It's a short overview at the end. And yeah, let's start right away in our Langdock overview part. This is Langdock. Langdock itself is a platform that integrates different large language models. And let's, for instance, start with a chat that from ChatGPT or somewhere else. But the cool thing already here is you can choose from different large language models like Claude, ChatGPT in different flavors, Gemini, and whatever you configure, they have quite some models available. And the interesting part is you can adjust it to the zone, the area where you are coming from. You can, for instance, say, please only use European hosted servers or whatever is important for you regarding maybe different situation context that you need to actually look at. You can use different chats and switch while you are in a chat to another model and try things. The interesting part is that I can use these different large language models without additional cost. I pay about 20 euros per month, and I can use the strengths from different large language models. Quite an interesting feature. But there is so much more. I guide you through some of the features here that I use. For instance, you can create your own prompt library in here. And you can create different folders where you organize different prompts in there. And maybe you are already in a situation like you have plenty of prompts and they are all over the place. You can integrate them and even share them if you are in a team context and work with different people. You can share these prompts in a team context, what is quite interesting for such situations. And solves that you duplicate and then they get outdated, not in sync any longer. For me, a big use case is to use assistants. And assistance actually is you combine different knowledge sources and a general instruction about what you would like to achieve. You can use this assistant again and again with a completely new start. All the knowledge is there, but you can start with new prompts without having all the previously available chats that you already created. And one example, if I write my daily LinkedIn post, I have an assistant that knows how I write, that knows about my previous post, that knows about the program or topic that is important for me, and much more. But it starts from fresh These assistants are quite powerful. I already have several, about 35 it shows here. Some I use heavily every day, some I use when I need specialized areas. I show you some of these assistants today, but this is a powerful concept here. Other large language models like ChatGPT, they also have, they call it GPTs or projects, I guess it's called in Claude. The cool thing with the assistants in Langdock for me is I can use them with different large language models when I would like to switch, for instance, on the different strengths they have. And recently added, the integrations part is a superpower here, because you can connect Langdock with different integrations, like for instance, email or the Microsoft world, I guess with Azure and others, Microsoft Teams, for instance. Or you could add complete knowledge folders where you add up to 1,000 files with whatever knowledge you would like to provide. For more sophisticated versions, you could even add vector databases where you externalize a huge bunch of knowledge. The cool thing is with these integrations, you connect AI with your systems and you have easy access and can really use these systems in different areas. And this is really strong. What you can see here is I use different assistants, and I don't know how many hundreds of chats I already have here available. This is my go-to tool for everyday use. I still use other AI tools, but this is my main area when I start with AI. Una, you had a good question here. ChatGPT, you run out of saved memory. The memory part, I guess this is what ChatGPT tries to memorize about what you do with ChatGPT and what they would like to know as a context about you. This happens with Langdock too, but there are techniques that you can outsource the memory part in an extra document, provide this to the AI assistants, and then you can always start from scratch, but instruct what is the memory aspect that it should always consider. And this way you could build a bridge to the tools not yet being able to store endless memory. I guess that's also a matter of time when they solve this, but at the moment, most tools suffer from this. Yeah. Cool. And the second questions are assistants like ChatGPT projects. No, these are small GPTs. That's what an assistant actually is about. Yeah. Let's move on a bit. This was the short Langdock overview. If you have questions, raise your hand or put them in the chat. I can try to answer more of those. And I would move on a little with my systems overview. My center of where I store all my notes actually is in a software called Obsidian. Others use Evernote, Notion, whatever other tools are available. I use Obsidian, and there I have about 4,000 notes in there already about all different knowledge domains, topics that I learn. And there are also about 13,000 connections between these different notes. I follow an approach by Tiago Forte called a second brain. And this provides an approach how I work with information, how I process information. And this builds a huge knowledge web that I currently have in my system. But now there needs to be a bridge that I can use AI properly with my system. And this is exactly where Langdock provides me a great service. I connect my data source from the second brain with Langdock and can ask Langdock on certain aspects from my knowledge that I have to integrate this knowledge and work with this knowledge in a context-based way instead of a generic AI without much context. And that makes a huge difference in the output that I can get. For instance, I use all of this to move my QuinSmart company program forward. It knows so much about what I'm doing, who I am, what is my goal, who is my target. It's already fully integrated and I can use it in my day-to-day operations in running the company. So then zooming in on the data layer, this might be a bit technical. Stop me if this goes too far. But what I did as a configuration is I mentioned Obsidian as my go-to software where I store all my files. The cool thing with this one is it stores all these files locally on my drive. Then one small twist, and it took some time for me to understand what I should do and how I should do this properly, was to sync this automatically with the Google Drive. Not a copy. Google is exactly using this folder on my local hard drive and automatically syncs. The cool thing is I can connect Langdock with Google. And this way I have an immediate connection between my second brain files from Obsidian, and I can use it in Langdock without copy pasting anything. And that's a real difference to what many do, is they take a snippet of knowledge, copy paste, then it gets outdated. And there is another interesting lane. When I have a huge bunch of documents, let's say, like some of us here, I write on LinkedIn daily. These are about 450 posts. I also started writing a newsletter, about 25 editions now. And I have several occasions where I would like to work with AI based on my previous posts. Now, to add to a chat 400 files, and this may be doing this in different chats, it's not something that I would do. And there is a bridge, and this is the technical part. It's called a vector database. I wrote a little Python script that actually converts all my posts in AI-readable format, a vector database that's stored actually in Qtrend. This is also connected with Langdock. And these two lanes provide now AI with quite some of my knowledge, and I can work in AI assistants or chats with these knowledge points. Maybe you already have questions. What was surprising? What maybe did you not yet understand? Where would you like to know more? Let's have a short interaction here if you want. I give it some seconds, so raise your hand or immediately open your mic.
I didn't quite
curious.
understand what a vector database is used for. So why do you need that for your LinkedIn posts and the newsletter?
Yeah, a vector database actually transforms text into points of information, and it makes it easy for an AI. If you ask a specific question, it can do a context match searching through this vector database. The main difference is, with such an approach, you can circumvent context window sizes, and also you can prevent that you need to add thousands of documents again and again. An example, if I would like to ask about a specific use of words or topics in my LinkedIn posts, about 450, I can go to the vector database and ask, please search all areas where this sentence is contextually used in my writings. It would provide me with different sources that I can actually use. And such a vector database you usually use if you have a huge bunch or extremely large files, because the file sizes often still crash the boundaries of what a large language model can currently process.
No, I think that clarifies it for me. So
Yeah.
Understand why you need it in your context.
This is often needed in contexts where you have a huge bunch of documents that you actually would like to provide as a context for AI.
Yeah.
And in
So
company area,
it's basically to provide a bigger context where you say, okay, please analyze this.
What other questions do you have? Someone else?
Yes, I was
Okay.
opening it. I think you already answered it. I understand the purpose of the vectorize stuff, but and you reflect the when it makes more sense to use Google. But wouldn't be, if you go the way with your Python script to always create vectors, it easier instead of having both streams all the time, or is it a backup because like the conversion with the Python script makes probably more efforts, and that's why for single use cases it makes more sense to have this Google approach?
Yeah, it makes more effort. Also, vector databases, when they get bigger, cost additional. Also, the conversion to vectors costs a small fraction. I converted today again, 400 posts cost me 5 cents. Also, it's all affordable, but still, and it's more complex. And also keeping this in sync, you need to have something that actually syncs it. If you use the Google Drive, it's automatically in sync. So that's the main difference here. It's a special use case when I would use a vector database. And also for starting points, not necessary. I just wanted to show that I'm using this. What other questions do you have about such a system. You ask what Python does. Python actually converts the text form into a vectorized form, and the script actually does this conversion. Very technical. I can share in detail if you would like to know more about this. Cool. Then let's move on. I would like to show you the writer approach. So what I do daily is I write on LinkedIn, and I'm starting soon my 9 weeks program, and I actually write a lot about my program. Now, maybe you are in similar contexts and have these situations where many of the documents open here, interesting. So I have a briefing about my program itself. It's quite some pages, about 20 to 30 pages of what my program is about. I learned from Alex Hormozi the $100 million offers, where he describes how you can craft an irresistible offer. Cool book, 300 pages. I took highlights when I read the book. It's about 10,000 words in there. Nothing to keep in my memory, but I would like to have it present when I write. I went through an interesting course from Billy Proas, the 5 Light Bulbs Marketing. There's so much gold in there, and I took quite some notes. I would like to have this knowledge present when I write. It's really months of learning, several programs distilled. Then I have information about my avatar, ideal person to join such a program. And I also have my 450 plus LinkedIn posts as a background and several other AI assistants. So maybe you can immediately anticipate that you have different contexts when you use with AI. And this is an interesting challenge to have, and therefore a system like Langdock is quite interesting to use. And I would like to show you a bit how this looks like in Langdock. What I would like to show you is one of my assistants. It's my program expert. Maybe I show you another one, because I updated this one. Learning Ecosystem Program Assistant. Let's use this one. When we look at the configuration and we now enter the configuration of this assistant, the headline, short description, and then I added a detailed prompt here, what actually this assistant should do when I start using the assistant. And I said, please study my program details, get familiar with the 5 light bulbs framework, understand my avatar, understand my principles of crafting an offer, and all that stuff. And you can see here is all the attached actions and knowledge sources that actually I would like to use. And I go through them one by one that you get an inspiration, right? So one thing that I attached is my vector database of all my previous LinkedIn posts. So all my 450 posts are in. Then I also provided access to my Google Calendar. For instance, if I would like to send an invite, update an invite, who participates in a session, I can work with this assistant based on my program. And I can search for events, update events, and stuff like this. Then I also connected it to my Google Mail. So if someone provides me insights, something directly connected to my program, I can search through the mails and get this in my system. And I connected it to a folder, the Learning Ecosystem Mastery Program. And let's also show this folder. Here we have this integration knowledge folders. And here is this folder that I just mentioned. These are markdown files with instructions about what is my voice, Lightbulb framework descriptions. And these files are from my second brain actually copied into this folder. And all these different things are available in this assistant. Do you have questions about this one?
Yeah, it's clear. Thank you, Basti.
Then how do I use this? And use case from today is I was writing a LinkedIn post today morning. Maybe let me share this also. that you can look at this in parallel. Actually, it's this one. So let me share this in the chat here. You can open this in parallel if you want. And I had an idea that I actually want to write about a behavior that I observe, that I do not yet understand why it is like this. Why do people defer investing in their topics? And what would be necessary to work with getting the clarity that it's helpful to invest now in order to earn the benefits later on, right? And with the expectation that many expect an outcome in a matter of hours, when it's clear that you actually would need some more weeks or days to get such an outcome. It's not always immediately available, right? This topic I find quite interesting. And I ask, hey, let's work on this one. You can see it immediately connected to my background and provided me quite a long draft for my post. But it's not a generic answer. It's an answer that reflects on my program, that knows what I'm looking forward to. It knows the details, right? You could try the same prompt, you would get a completely different outcome if you don't provide this context. And then I instructed, please give me this as a markdown format. Something happened here, so this is something that I actually need. But then I said, hey, actually, it's a bit too long. And I started crafting the post in more detail. Yeah? And it actually helped me to even get this in a more distilled version. And it came up with more and more refined versions. Then, to add another small nugget here, you remember I joined this 5 light bulbs marketing approach. This is actually about how to make an argument and how to use this argument to help people see, makes sense, I should look at this. And I asked, actually from this post now, tell me which light bulbs did I use? And it came up with a general answer about the light bulbs, not what I needed. I asked, please analyze my post and tell me which light bulbs did I use. And it provided me a detailed overview about which light bulbs, why it is important to use them. And then I asked for some refinement. What I wanted to show is I can write better posts in a back and forth conversation and with access to a wide context of what I'm actually writing about and what is my context, who I am, what I would like to actually talk about or write about. What do you think when you see this is something that you already also use? I would like to see also your experience level. Is this a surprising thing? Is this something that hooks you and you say, yeah, this is quite interesting? What's your immediate reaction?
How much time do you think this saves you, Basti? I'm quite interested because I know how long I spend in a post. I know how I've spoken to Jamie a lot about this as well, and how long we would spend drafting something. So from that idea, because obviously you're coming up with a prompt or an idea, but from that point that you've sat there and went, yep, how long does that stopwatch go?
Today morning, I took about 30 minutes or something like this. But nothing compared to my previous approaches where it took 2 hours to write. But sometimes it also happens that I say, hey, this is already quite cool. Some small tweaks, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, done. This depends a bit on what is the topic about, what is the output, what can I do with this stuff. But I would say it did cut time by at least 50%. What do you think how Langdock secures your data? Quite an interesting question. I have the European service active, so this is at least one part. And from my data that I provide, I'm not that much concerned about protecting this data. I'm super into sharing and learning in public. That's one philosophy of mine, and that's why that's not my major topic. But I know that from different data privacy perspective, Langdock is quite advanced, and it's one of their main IP why people, especially in Europe, also use Langdock. Yeah. I hope that this goes in the direction in what you wanted to explore with your question, Jason. What else? or questions you would like to bring in.
This is clear. I think this is really cool. My question is more the key objective. Is it to just cut down the amount of time you spend on content creation, or do you actually feel like this improves the overall quality of your content?
Both. The creation time is going down, but the quality is also growing immensely. Because imagine finding the key insights from several courses and knowledge bits and pieces. The level of what we forget is so high, and now AI reminds you of certain aspects that I likely would not have thought about. Not because they are not important, just because I can't hold this capacity-wise in my memory. And what I also experience is it provides me so many hunches that I did not think about before. So many interesting phrases. That's why I would say it heavily increases the quality. And one quality aspect that I cannot undervalue as a non-native speaker is that it really also helps me with writing in English. That's a main use case for me with Langdock. The second one is it's nearly a similar use case, but I use this, for instance, today. Ryan Keeler on LinkedIn wrote a really cool post about taking different perspectives. And I like to take these hunches and do something with these hunches immediately. And this is what I then came up this morning. I provided, let me check if I can see this. Yeah, this is the immediately create input. So what I did is I took the post from Ryan and he wrote about how to write that actually people see the bigger picture and get into the transformation instead of the technical terming and stuff like this. And I found this quite cool, and also his examples were quite cool. And I thought, hey, look at my program and my offer. What actually is my landscape or two path that he describes? And this was mind-blowing what came up here. I thought, whoa, this is cool input. I would like to immediately use this because the language here is so much more connecting to a good outcome. And you can scroll here, there are interesting things. And then I asked him, okay, now let's use this. This is, for instance, a cool sentence for profile. Let's use this, and I give you a cool LinkedIn profile that or about me section from someone. Analyze this about me section. Now apply what we learned before and update my profile. So it analyzed and came up with a strong profile. This took me about 15 minutes from hunch to new profile to updated cool statements I can use in crafting my offer. Isn't that cool? What do you think?
While I'm just copying you, Basti, I'm going to go and ask my ChatGPT exactly that from my profile. I think it's a great idea to take Ryan's excellent post and use that. Yeah, so thanks.
Yeah.
That was a nugget. I didn't think of that one. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. If you need more from this chat, I can also share more of the details. Happy to do it. What else comes to your mind?
One thing came to my mind is we don't really know what sort of data ChatGPT has been trained on. So it could potentially already take into consideration, for example, the book from Alex Hormozy or things like that. So are you doing this approach because I suppose you make sure that things that are valuable to you will be feeding into the model? What actually is used. And the highlights that I take from the book are likely very different from highlights others take from the book, depending on what is their main topic they would like to solve at the moment. And that's why it's much more tailored to my needs compared to generic knowledge. Many of the books AI cannot and does not know about because there's an intellectual property topic and books are not open to AI. That's why it hallucinates a lot, and it also takes it from different sources that made up their overview. And it might be wrong. That's why I do not trust on any book summary that AI provides me. It can be completely off. But if I provide my own highlights, then it's my text, my extraction, and the outcome is much more close to what is important for me. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What other questions do you have? Cool. Energy level still high. Should we continue? Yeah? Cool. Then I wanted to show you the small calendar integration that you can use. Let me show this live. Let's see if I can find the right chat here. Let's do this completely live. So I use the assistant and I take the email manager here. Assistant. Let's start a chat. And I created one prompt. And now let's see if the live demo works as expected. So I give it the prompt, find the event behind the scenes that we are actually in my calendar from today and list all attendees. And please, for data privacy reasons, only the names, please, not the email addresses. So if it shows the email addresses, then please close your eyes. It searches, lists, and these are the ones that actually signed up via a form and I added them to the calendar. That's why maybe you don't find your name in here. And now I could say next. And you see, this is cool, right? I'm in the chat window. I can now use AI strengths to say, hey, now write everyone within BC email as a draft. It does not send them. You can also send it immediately. Thank them for the insights and add a link if I would have the recording, add a link. And now in the background, it drafted this one and it saved it in my Gmail account. So let's see if I can bring this up. Let's see. In the calendar, we have the invite from today. Oh, no, not the calendar. It's the email actually. And they're in the drafts. And you see the draft was created so just 2 minutes or 1 minute ago. And this actually is what it wrote. And the addresses are on top. You saw, quite cool, right? From the flow, what is possible via the integration is that it drafts the email, and you could even say these are certain aspects to look at. It's quite easy to combine these different streams. Isn't this cool? I love it. Makes life so much easier. Okay. For everyone who would like to take a fast lane and learn about this, I start next Monday. 9 weeks. First 2 weeks are learning and mindset. Then we have week 3 to 6. We're building a second brain, storing our information, managing our knowledge, connecting bits and pieces. This is covered in full detail. And then we add in the remaining 3 weeks the AI layer and build a system similar to what you saw today. We also use Langdock as a group in this program. If this is interesting, I provided a link here or send me a message. This is a small overview of how you might connect with me on this topic. And for me, it's the first time running this cohort. I'm looking forward to this. This will be quite a cool experience. What are your thoughts? How do you leave the session? What was surprising for you? What is something you would like to share? I would like to listen and then close the session.
Basti, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think it's super cool the way you can drop the email like that. At the same time, because I'm not very tech savvy, I felt very overwhelmed. This is probably something I would hire someone to do because I don't have the confidence to set up something like this. I don't know whether this is something that you have considered to offer. Like people would just outsource all this automation work to you.
Yeah, the automation part, that's something for sure. I can help with write scripts, whatever. Or for instance, getting your data in a vector database, that's also something I would consider an advanced expert level. So first, it's important to think about how can I externalize my knowledge? Where do I have it? How can I bring it in one common source? This is something everyone can solve. And if you wait and don't solve it, you still waste time searching. So every day you have such a system in place really helps you. And this is something everyone can set up. The more advanced stuff, for sure, I can assist and help with this, or there are also others who can help. From this overview session, I can sense that this is nothing that immediately clicks and is easy to implement. It takes some time. That's why it's also not a one-day program, but 9 weeks to actually go through this, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any comments? Yeah,
I can share, Basti. So I've attended a previous session with yourself and we've had a conversation. So what I took away was on the connection side. before that it was about creating the second brain, which I still think is obviously step one. You have to get second brain or some concept of second brain working. But yeah, what helped or demystified a little bit, still very mystical to me, but was the need for those connections. So if you're going to layer on that AI, and you give us a couple of use case scenarios, but I'm sure there are many other, just it sounds like you've cracked that. Well, since we last had a conversation, how do you do that? How do you crack the connection, get it seamless so you can really work in the AI in Langdock to perform? So getting from second brain to working in an environment, your Langdock operation. Yeah, and the other was just specifics. I didn't know about the books for that insight as well. So that's changed my view because I've been using AI to give me some idea on summary of books, and I've got my own notes, but now I will feed it my notes, what I think, and that will sort of probably make it relevant. So that's another, apart from the Ryan hack, I'm taking that one as well. So thank you for that.
Great that you get this value out of this session. Cool. Thanks for the insights. What else would you like to bring in?
Just a thank you, Basti. I think we've discussed learning before, and I look at every little bit as a different building block that we pile up. And then the more building blocks that we've got, the more connections that we can make, and then it adds in. So it's how to store those blocks.
Yeah. And today was one of the parts to apply.
Yes.
Much easier than it was years ago.
How fast is the technology developing on this?
It's super fast.
Is it how we use it, or is it actually the tech developing and how we use it?
I would say both. We have huge, fast iterations on tech at the moment, so I expect heavy changes on the approach itself. But the underlying principles of you need to externalize and you need to make it available is something that will feed us for some time. I don't expect AI brain connections immediately in the next years. So this would solve this puzzle piece, right? The externalizing and providing it is a puzzle piece, but I guess we will see more and more platforms where all integrates in one. Let's see how this evolves. What else would you like to bring in? We still have about 10 minutes, so I'm here for whatever question you would like to bring in, and wait until you say, done, ready.
Do you know if there's an integration to Miro? Because I've got lots of my second brain in Miro because I'm very visual learner. So I've got pasted images and stuff and diagrams from various parts together. And so that would be next level, which would be important for me.
This is what I would use as a bridge in between. I would take a screenshot from the Miro board. And here is ChatGPT stronger at the moment. I would dump this to ChatGPT or Gemini. Gemini is also from Google, is also getting super strong here. It can analyze your images.
Okay.
And likely even convert this to other graphical representations like a mermaid diagram or something like this that you can use in Notes. I guess that's an interesting bridge. I did not try it. I tried quite a lot of the image recognition when I scan my paper books, and this is already really cool. They recently updated the capabilities quite a lot.
And does that also work with PDFs?
Yeah, PDFs, ChatGPT, and also Gemini are strong in analyzing PDFs.
Okay.
Either images or text versions in PDFs. This is good.
I might try that. I was very impressed on how far you've integrated this, as some of the other participants said, just working in the AI tool and not having to copy and paste stuff around from one place to the other. I think that's impressive because I haven't seen it like that. I'm just starting to use at work, like just the chat and the prompts and the assistants, but not any integration in that way.
Yeah.
That looks promising.
And what I like is that it's super affordable. This makes it a real winning tool at the moment.
The problem is I'm working at the company's AI and data security and all that stuff.
Sure.
So that's a bit of a problem. I'm pretty sure that it will come at some point to companies to start using these things and integrating.
And what I realized is I would now recommend everyone externalize and extract your knowledge and build your system. This is a learning I would like to share with everyone. Thanks, Ralf. Joy, I can see you open mic. I don't know if you would like to bring in something.
Yeah, I was just wondering, how do you extract your knowledge? What kind of knowledge are you feeding into the model?
Different sources. One main source is my books. Usually I read on Kindle. On Kindle, I take highlights immediately, and these highlights are automatically synced in my second brain. From there, I can use it in Langdock, as you saw. Another big source are all my web articles and stuff I find here in the internet. This I funnel through a Read Later app. I use Meta. There's also Readwise and Raindrop.io. And there are all my web articles that I find interesting, worth reading, go into the system. And then I can, for instance, if I'm waiting in a queue, if I have 5 minutes somewhere, I start opening one of the articles, also do the highlights. And this again automatically syncs in my system. So these two sources. And then when I take courses, like for instance, 5 light bulbs or other courses, I take heavy notes, screenshots, all that stuff. While I'm in the course, I immediately transfer this as a note or many notes in my second brain. And these are my 3 main sources, and all the other stuff that appears on the walk, thoughts that I have, but it takes my voice and transcribes this immediately. VoicePal, that's the app from Ali Abdal, really cool one. And all the other stuff I write. So Joy, many sources, but I have, from the second brain approach, I have a way of how I capture these insights and convert this in notes in my second brain.
Great. Thanks, Sebastian.
What else is something that you would like to explore and know about?
Just out of curiosity, because when we worked together, you used your Remarkable heavily and was one of the persons who inspired me to also get used to this. Do you still have that in your current workflow?
Yes, maybe for everyone who does not know this, Remarkable is a paper notebook where you can take notes, but it feels like writing on paper. So the main use case for me is if I'm in a conversation with someone, then I would not like to fiddle on the keyboard. And there, my Remarkable is my still go-to device. What I realized over time is that many of the notes that I take on the Remarkable are not something that I use later on to build knowledge on top. The main use case for me is if I have the next conversation with the person, I have it available and can shortly look at this, but this is nothing that needs to go in my second brain. If I have a rare occasion where I need this, then I use the Remarkable upload document PDF text extraction and bring it to my notes, but this is not often the case. And I still do many notes on my Remarkable every day. Also a Remarkable fan.
I got my Remarkable thanks to you, Basti. I feel like you should start charging them a commission for referring all the customers.
Jason, you say you love the Kindle Scribe. That's a cool device too, and likely much better integrated with books, I can imagine. I did not yet touch it, but I think it's a cool one. I wish you a great day. Thanks for joining the session, making it so interactive.
Oh, Sebastian.
Yo.
Hi. Apologies, I've just arrived back at the house. I was just wondering, are you able to use this with team members where they can access?
Yeah. Langdock is a complete team-friendly environment, and you can even work in the same chat with the team. You can share the integrations, also the prompts and stuff like this. So it's a really perfect team environment.
Oh, and are you having to pay per user? Or...
Yeah, per user. It's per user. But I don't know about if you have a bigger team, what this means, if they have any reduction prices. This is something you need to check with Langdock. Yeah. Cool. Then checking out. Have a nice day. Ciao, ciao.